Section 11.6 is on analyzing data. Sets of data can be described and compared in many different ways. One of these ways is to use measures of central tendency. These are mean, median, and mode. The mean is the average of the data values. So you add up all of the data values and divide by the number of values that you have. It is often represented by this symbol here, which we say as X bar. The median is the data value in the middle of the set when the values are listed in numerical order. If there's an even number of data values, find the mean of the two middle values. And the mode is the data value that appears most often. A set of data can have one mode, two modes, in which case it's called bimodal, or it can have no mode. If it has more than two modes, the mode is not considered to be statistically useful. Let's take a look at an example here. Okay. This frequency table shows the number of trees in the yard of each house on one street, and we need to find the mean, median, and mode of the trees per yard. So just to understand this table here, what this means is that there is one yard that has 3 trees, there are 5 yards that have 4 trees, 7 yards that have 5 trees, and so on. So what I did was I went ahead and listed all of those in numerical order. So I have 1 3, and I will have 5 4s, 7 5s, 4 6s, 1 7, and 2 8s. Now, to find the mean, I'm going to grab my calculator and total all of those up, and that comes out to 105. And there are a total of 20 trees. So dividing by 20, that gives me a mean of 5.25. The median would be the number in the middle, but since I have 20, I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that would be the middle point right there. And the average of 5, 5, and 5 is 5. And the mode is the value that appears most often. And I don't have to count my values here. I can just go back to the table here because there are 7 yards that have 5 trees. So my mode is also 5. An outlier is a data value that is significantly smaller or larger than most of the values in the data set. Outliers can affect the measures of central tendency. So let's take a look at this example and identify any outliers in the following data set. So I went ahead and I listed these in numerical order from 12 all the way up to 46. Now an outlier is either going to be the minimum or the maximum value. It's going to be on one of the ends. So 12 is my smallest value, and that's not a whole lot smaller than 15. 46 is my maximum value, but that's 11 values greater than 35. So in this case, I would consider 46 to be an outlier. Oops, a little too far there. There we go. The range of a set of data is the difference between the greatest and the least values. So that's going to be your maximum minus your minimum. The values that divide the data set into 4 equal parts are called quartiles. The median, the value in the middle, is called Q2, and the first or lower quartile, Q1, is the median of the lower half of the data set. The third or upper quartile, Q3, is the median of the upper half of the data set. And the interquartile range is the difference between the upper and the lower quartile, so Q3 minus Q1. Let's take a look at an example. We have a table here that shows the average monthly water temperatures for 4 locations on the Gulf of Mexico. And we need to compare the 12 water temperatures from Dauphin Island with the 12 water temperatures from Grand Isle. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I kind of did this in advance to save a little bit of time here, is I went ahead and I listed all of those values in numerical order because that's what we're going to need to do. Oops, let me move that up just a little bit more here. There we go. So here are the average water temperatures for Dauphin Island listed in numerical order, and here are the values for Grand Isle listed in numerical order. So we need to start by finding the mean, mode, and range for each one of those. So for the mean for Dauphin Island, if I add those up, I get 829, and divide that by 12, gives me 69.083 repeating, or about 69 degrees. The mode, there's only one value that repeats itself, and that is 84. And then the range is going to be the maximum, which is 84, minus the minimum, which is 51. My range is 33. Now, let's find our Q1, our median, our Q3, and then the IQR. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the middle right there. So my median is actually going to be halfway between 70 and 72. So my median is 71. My Q1 is going to be it's going to be the median of this lower half of data. So my Q1 is going to fall right in there. Halfway between 56 and 60 is 58. My Q3 is the median of the upper half of data, so it's going to fall right there. So that's 81. And my IQR, my interquartile range, is going to be 81 minus 58, or 23. Now let's do the same thing for Grand Isle. So the mean for Grand Isle, when I total them up, is 881 divided by 12, which is 73.416 repeating, or about 73.5 degrees. My mode, my goodness, I have a lot of modes. 61, 70, 77, 83, 85. I'm not even going to bother to list that because remember, if you have more than 2 modes, it really doesn't affect anything here. My range is going to be my maximum, which is 85, minus my minimum, which is 61, for a range of 24. And let's go ahead and find our next 3 values, 2, 4, 6. Right in there is where my median is going to be. That's the middle. So 70 plus 77 divided by 2 gives me 73.5. The middle of my lower half of data is going to give me my Q1. So that's 64.5. And then my Q3 is going to be the median of the upper half, and that's going to be 83. My IQR is 83 minus 64.5. That's Q3 minus Q1, or 18.5. Okay, so now let's see if we can draw some conclusions about these 2 sets of data. Well, let's see. Let's first look at the mean. So the mean at Dauphin Island, or the average temperature, is about 69 degrees. The mean at Grand Isle, I'm going to call that about 73.5. That's pretty close to that. 73.5. So the average temperature at Grand Isle is 4.5 degrees greater than at Dauphin Island. So in general, Grand Isle is the water temperatures are warmer on average. Okay, let's take a look at the range. So the range for Dauphin Island is 33, so that's from the highest water temperature to the lowest, and the range at Grand Isle is 24, from the highest to the lowest. Also, the interquartile range here is 23, and the interquartile range here is 18.5. So I can say that because of the smaller range and a smaller IQR, the temperatures at Grand Isle vary less. Also at Grand Isle, the temps vary much less. So there's more of a constant temperature there at Grand Isle. Okay. A box and whisker plot. Whoops, let me go up a little bit more here. A box and whisker plot uses the median, the minimum and maximum values, and the upper and lower quartiles to represent the data graphically. And it's going to look something like this. Maybe you've done one of these before. It's on a number line, and we have our minimum, Q1, Q2, Q3, and maximum values represented. There's a box here that encloses the interquartile range, and then my whiskers are the lines that go out to the minimum and maximum. Now, we can do this on our calculator, which is actually kind of cool. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So for this example says, use the data up above for Key West to make a box and whisker plot on your graphing calculator. So let's go ahead and pull up the calculator. And I can list, what I need to do is I need to list all of the data for Key West in the calculator. To do that, I'm going to go to my stat, hit my stat button. And you can see I have some choices here, edit, calc, and tests, and then some options under edit here. So if I just hit enter again, it's going to bring up a place, this L1 is list 1, where I can enter my values that I want. So for Key West, my first value, going back to the table, was 69. So I type that and hit enter. My second one was 70. Go ahead and hit enter, and then continue to enter the rest of the data values. Okay, so I've gone ahead and entered the rest of those values in L1. Okay, now what I want to do is go ahead and hit the Stat button again, and let's go over to Calc, go over to the calc menu here, and you'll see the first one here says one var stats. This is one variable stat, so it's going to do some of the calculating for us, and one variable because we're just working off of one list right now. So go ahead and hit enter. Now your calculator may look like this, or it may pop up the values automatically. In this case, I'm going to be working off of list 1. Let's arrow down to calculate and hit enter, and you'll see it's going to give me a whole lot of different stuff. Now so the first value here is x bar, so that's my mean, okay, my average of 79 degrees. These next ones we're going to talk about in a future lesson. Then you can see it tells me that n, or my number of values, is 12, which makes sense because these were monthly values. And then if I continue to arrow down, I will see that it gives me my minimum, my Q1, my median, my Q3, and my maximum. So I'm going to go back to the worksheet here and list those values. So my minimum is 69, my Q1 is 73.5, the median is 80, Q3 was 85.5, and my max was 87. Actually, at this point, we could go ahead and draw a box and whisker without the calculator. Well, maybe we'll do that first, and then I'll show you how to do it on the calculator. So let's go ahead and make a number line across the bottom. And since my minimum value was 69, I'm going to start down here at 65, and then I'm going to do little hash marks at 5-degree increments. And since my maximum was 87, I think I'll go up to 90. Now I'm going to put dots approximately at each one of those numbers. So 69 is about there, 73.5 is about there, 80, 85.5, and 87. Okay, now I'm going to draw a box for my interquartile range, so it's going to go from there to there. Make that a box. And then we also want a vertical line going through the median. And then I draw my whiskers out to my minimum and maximum. And that's what it looks like. Let me show you how to do this on the calculator. It's actually kind of cool. So I'm going to go to second and hit y equals, and you'll notice that's going to give me stat plots. So I want to turn plot 1 on. So right now it says plot 1 is off. So let's hit enter. And I'm going to hit enter again so that on is highlighted. Now for the type, I want a box and whisker, so it's going to be one of these over here. As far as I can tell, I don't think it really matters which, oops, sorry, I need to go down first, and then we're going to go over. I think I'll go to the this one here, and it's going to be oops, it didn't select that. I did that wrong. Let's go up. Now I have to hit enter. There we go. Okay, and it's going to be working off of list 1. It's going to draw it in blue. I'm okay with that. To do that, we have to hit graph. Now, it's not showing up. That's because I have a standard kind of function viewing window here. So I need to go in and change my window. So let's hit the window button at the top here. And I'm going to want my X-min to be one of my smallest values. So my minimum was 69, so I'm going to make my X-min 65. My maximum value was 87, so I'm going to make my maximum value 90. My X scale, where do I want the little hash marks? I'm going to go with 5s. My Y minimum, I really only need to be in the first quadrant, so I'm going to make this a 0. And I think I'm going to make my Y max, I think 6 works well. Now let's hit graph. And there we go. It draws my box and whisker plot, a lot like the one that I sketched. Okay, and last concept here is to talk about percentile. A percentile is a number from 0 to 100 that you can associate with a value in a set of data. It represents the percent of data that are less than or equal to that value. Let's take a look at this example. The table is an ordered list of midterm test scores for a Spanish class. What value is at the 55th percentile? So in other words, what value is at 55% and then all of the ones, in other words, 55% of the scores are less than that value. So to do that, I have a total of 20 values, and I'm going to multiply that by 55%, and that gives me 11. So that means I need to find the 11th value. 11 values fall at or below that number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 79 is at the 55th percentile, that means that 11 values fall at or below a grade of 79 on the score. So 79 is the value at the 55th percentile. So in this lesson, we took a look at ways of analyzing data, measures of central tendency, mean, median, mode. We looked at quartiles. We looked at how to compare two sets of data using those, and how to create a list on the calculator, and how to draw a box and whisker plot, and we talked about percentiles.